Get started on time. Thank you all of you for joining us this evening for the 2021 Dutchess County Annual Conservation Advisory Committee and Environmental Management Council Roundtable. I'm Carolyn Clocker, and I'm the Environment and Energy Program Leader at Cornell Cooperative Extension in Dutchess County. And thank you again for joining us. I have a few kind of housekeeping things that some of you may have already taken care of for us. But if you're just joining us, I just want to go over a few Zoom instructions, etiquette, those types of things. If you have joined us and connected your audio to this meeting via computer or a smartphone, you should be able to see that there is a mute button on the far left side of the Zoom toolbar at the bottom of your screen. Next to it, you will also see where you can turn on and off your video for this evening. We, meaning CCE Dutchess staff, will likely have our videos on for at least part of the meeting. I highly encourage you to choose what is most comfortable for you. Some people don't mind being on camera. Some people don't like it. I totally understand. So choose what's most comfortable for you. If you are joining the audio for this meeting via telephone line, you can use *6 throughout the evening to mute and unmute yourself. Finally, we would appreciate it if everyone could rename themselves to not only include your full name, but also your preferred pronouns and what community or organization you are representing tonight. So for those of you who aren't familiar on how to do this, there's two ways to go about doing this. You could either go into the participant list and find your name, click the More button, and then select Rename. And there's some examples on the screen of what we're asking you to include, or as Brent pointed out to me, you can click on the video of your image and you'll see 3 dots there. And when you click on the 3 dots, you'll also get that same menu where you can select Rename and then type in your full name, your preferred pronouns, and what community or organization you are representing tonight. All right. Got some interesting things going on with how I'm advancing my slides tonight. So bear with me if you see me leaning off to the side because I have to advance my slides in a certain way. I apologize.
Oh, okay, here we go, tonight's agenda, okay?
Yeah. So here is the agenda for this evening. Just a reminder to please use that mute button when you aren't presenting because background noise could interrupt some of our presenters throughout the evening. So here's tonight's agenda. We're going to just start off with some quick welcome and introductions. We're going to take an overview of some of the projects that Cornell Cooperative Extension staff are working on that may be of particular importance or a resource to you all. And then we're going to jump right into your presentations. And what you may notice from this agenda, for any of you who have attended these types of meetings in the past, is that we will not be presenting on a particular topic this evening. We wanted to make sure there was plenty of time for each community to present on their projects, successes, challenges, and goals for 2021. And we recognize that by doing this roundtable virtually, especially for the first time, we wanted to make sure if there's time that is taken between transitions and any hiccups along the way, we still have plenty of time for you all to present and plenty of time for you to engage in discussion and a question and answer session with each other at the end of this evening. So again, a few additional housekeeping items. Again, remember to mute yourself throughout the evening unless you are the one presenting, and you'll find that mute button on the Zoom toolbar. It's in the far left side of the toolbar. If you're having any sort of technical difficulties, please feel free to reach out to Sean Carroll via the chat feature in Zoom. When you use the chat feature, you can send a chat to the entire group by selecting everyone, or you can send a chat to an individual participant by using the drop-down list and finding their name. So go ahead and use that drop-down list to find Sean, and you can connect with him via the chat. Or if you're having additional difficulty you can always connect with Sean via email, especially if you get disconnected from the meeting and are having trouble getting back on. So there's Sean's email on the bottom of the screen, smc427@cornell.edu. And normally when we do these meetings, some of you may be familiar with the fact that we don't let you leave the Farm and Home Center until you filled out and turned in your evaluation form for the meeting. Obviously, we really can't do that tonight. So at several times throughout the evening, we're going to drop a link into the chat box for an electronic evaluation form. Please feel free to click on that link at any time and open it up ahead of time. That way you'll have it open in your browser and you'll be ready and prepared to fill it out as soon as this meeting wraps up around 8 o'clock, and then you can send it off to us right away. Or you can wait. We will be sending a follow-up email either tomorrow or the day after with the presentation slides, a list of some of the resources that are shared tonight and some additional information. And in that email, we'll provide a link to the evaluation form as well. So there'll be a couple opportunities for you to fill that out with us. All right, so I'm going to get started. Thank you again for joining us this evening for the 2021 Dutchess County Annual Conservation Advisory Committee and Environmental Management Council Roundtable. We really appreciate you joining us and are looking forward to hearing from all of your communities tonight. Again, I shared the agenda for this evening, so now we're going to talk a little bit more about what we do at Cornell Cooperative Extension. For those of you who aren't familiar, and most of you may be, but Cornell Cooperative Extension Dutchess County is a subordinate governmental agency associated with Cornell University and its land grant mission since 1869. We take the research of Cornell University and the other land grant universities. We interpret that research for the public and provide them with research-based resources, tools, and education for the residents and officials of Dutchess County. Our mission is to provide quality educational programs that build strong, healthy youth, adults, families, and communities while enhancing the economic, social, agricultural, and natural resources of Dutchess County. There are 4 main program areas at Cornell Cooperative Extension Dutchess County. We have our Ag and Horticultural Program, our Family and Consumer Education Program, our 4-H Youth Development Program, which you may be the most familiar with if you attend the Dutchess County Fair and check out all the animals that the kids have been raising. And then our program, the Environment and Energy Program. And so the mission of the Environment and Energy Program is through education, research, and partnerships, the Environment Program empowers individuals and municipal groups to expand their knowledge and actions to protect, restore, and enhance the environment of Dutchess County for future generations. Our program is completely funded by contracts, grants, and a bit of foundational support. And we are currently receiving funding from over 10 different sources. This allows us to provide diverse programs on a wide variety of topics, including geographic information systems, education and technical resources, flood resiliency and climate change, youth outdoor and STEM education, energy efficiency and renewables, watershed education and outreach, and much more. And these programs serve a wide variety of audiences, but often our main audience are local municipalities like yours. So now I'm going to provide just a brief overview of some of our current programs that all of our team, who are pictured on this slide, work on to better serve you and your community's needs. And I would highly encourage you not hesitate to reach out to any of us at any time to inquire about how we might be able to support your work based on any of the programs that we discussed tonight, but even on other programs that we may be working on or you want to learn more about. All right, so the first program I'm going to tell you a little bit more about is our county funded program. So in 2021, we are once again funded by Dutchess County to provide education on greenway principles and smart land use policy to your communities. This funding supports activity like tonight's CAC and EMC Roundtable that we hold each year, as well as a few other trainings, workshops, and forums. In addition to this roundtable this year, we will actually be organizing a forum or webinar on pollinator pathways, so stay tuned. We're super excited about that. It'll be in the second half of the year. And we'll also be doing hopefully a GIS and mapping training, but stay tuned on that as well. This funding also allows us to provide some administrative support to the Environmental Management Council and several of the watershed groups in Dutchess County. It also allows us to respond to basic inquiries from municipalities like yours, from the general public, institution, volunteer groups, and any interested citizen on a greenway related topic. It could be things like watersheds and water related topics, protecting local natural resources, energy use and efficiency, even mapping and GIS information requests. This funding also supports our work with the county's Climate Smart Communities Task Force and a few other initiatives and committees of Dutchess County. In addition to our county funding, we participate in what is called the Cornell Cooperative Extension Climate Resiliency Partnership. And this is an initiative of Cornell Cooperative Extensions of Columbia, Greene County, Dutchess, Rensselaer, Rockland, and Ulster counties. And it's in partnership with the New York State DEC Hudson River Estuary Program and the New York Water Resource Institute at Cornell University, with support from the New York State Environmental Protection Fund. And this year, it also includes additional partnerships with the New World Foundation's Lifeboats Hudson Valley program, the Nature Conservancy, and the Hudson River Watershed Alliance. These projects support our work to provide technical assistance and support to your communities to specifically complete adaptation actions of the Climate Smart Communities Certification Program. So for any of you who are familiar with the certification program, we're predominantly talking about actions that are part of Pledge Element 7. This includes working with communities to assess how many actions they've completed in the Climate Smart Community Certification Program and provide additional recommendations on how they can achieve certification. It also provides support to communities to obtain and upload all of the necessary documentation for their certification submission. It includes working with communities to create road stream crossing inventories and management plans, reviewing and assessing a community's local plans and codes for climate resiliency recommendations, and incorporating resiliency into comprehensive plan updates. We have currently already secured the communities that we will be working with this year under the funding sources listed on this slide. But we would be happy to explore grant funding opportunities or other additional funding opportunities to work with your community on similar actions if we aren't already doing so, or we could discuss with you possibly getting you on the list to work with you under these funding sources in 2022. So if that's something you're interested in, please feel free to reach out to us. And then one of our other larger programs that we currently work on is our NYSERDA Community Energy Engagement Program. And this contract works to provide education on energy efficiency and clean energy programs that are available to residents, small businesses, and nonprofits in New York State. So Cornell Cooperative Extension, Dutchess County, in collaboration with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Sullivan County, is contracted to provide this support to audiences across all 7 counties of the Mid-Hudson region. And these programs include opportunities for free or reduced home energy assessment and energy efficiency upgrades, and a wide variety of other projects and programs as well. CCE EDC also provides support through the entire process for residents and businesses to make sure they get the resources they need. So it's not like we just share information about a program and then step away. While we walk them through the whole process, we may help them apply, filling out their applications to get financing, helping them follow up with potential contractors and the whole suite of resources and assistance. In 2020 and in 2021, we added 2 initiatives to this work. Our new Energy Navigator volunteer program, where participants in the program go through an 11-week-long training to learn more about energy efficiency and clean energy, and then share what they learn with their friends, family, and communities. We've also added what we refer to as the Realign Initiative, which stands for the Roundtable for Energy Affordability in Low Income Groups and Neighborhoods. which is working to bring stakeholders across the region together to create and operationalize what we're calling a no wrong door referral approach, so that we can better serve low to moderate income residents in the region and provide them the services they need and the services that they qualify for. And then recently we've started piloting through this CEP contract some support to communities who are interested in starting a community education and outreach campaign as part of the Clean Energy Communities program. So we're doing a lot of great work through our CEP contract. And then finally, the last program that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about in depth tonight is that in recent years, through our partnership with the DEC Hudson River Estuary Program, we've been able to provide some support to several Dutchess County communities who are working on natural resource inventories and open space plans. And some of the support, or a lot of the support, is around helping them create maps and how to best utilize maps and geographic information systems as part of the NRI process. So if you're interested in learning more about this work, please feel free to connect with Sean Carroll or Nate Nardi Cyrus of the Estuary Program. So again, while I believe communities have already been identified for 2021, there may be opportunities to collaborate on grant proposals to help support this work in your community. And then, as I mentioned, we have several other programs that we don't have the time to share with you about tonight, but I highly recommend you can check out our website, ccedutchess.org, to learn more about some of those programs, like our No Child Left Inside Youth Workforce Development Program, and any of the other work that we do. And please feel free, this is our wonderful team, staff for the Environment and Energy Program at Cornell Cooperative Extension, Dutchess County. Some of these faces you might recognize, and some of them may be new to you. I highly recommend that you reach out to any one of us with questions, or to learn more about some of the programs I shared with you tonight, or to learn more about some of the programs that we didn't have time to cover tonight. All right, so next, I just want to remind you about some of the resources that we provide the CACs and the EMC through the Environment and Energy Program at Cornell Cooperative Extension. Specifically, I wanted to remind you all of our listserv. So if you are a Dutchess County CAC, CAB, or EMC member and are not currently on the Dutchess CAC and EMC listserv, let us know. This is a listserv that is only for CAC members, CAB members, and EMC members in Dutchess County. It's not open to anyone else. And it's an opportunity for you all to engage with each other, ask questions of each other, learn from each other. And it's opportunity for us to share information from our partners, like grant funding opportunities and programs coming up. So if your email was included in your community's directory and annual report form, you will be set up. Even if you weren't previously on the CAC and EMC listserv, we now have your contact information, and over the course of the next week or two, we'll be able to add you. But if your CAC did not include contact information, or for some reason, your email wasn't on that form, get in touch with us. Specifically, you can get in touch with Angela at acs26@cornell.edu, and she will help make sure that your email address gets on that list, because there's a lot of really great conversations that have been taking place on that listserv lately, and I think beneficial to many of the members. Also wanted to remind you that our program maintains a table of all of the environmental and natural resource ordinances in your communities. We refer to this table as the Environmental Ordinance Matrix. And we maintain it as a resource for your communities in the county so that you can keep up to date on the ordinances not only in your community, but also other communities in Dutchess County. And I think it's a great resource when you're thinking about possibly updating your codes or adding a new ordinance to your codes, you can utilize the table to see what other communities have passed to kind of get ideas and possibly serve as a model for your community's new code or ordinance. So the most recent copy of the matrix can be found on our website at the link that is provided in the chat box. We're also going to be reaching out to you via email over the course of this next week to request your support in making sure that the information that is included in the matrix for your community is up to date. So stay tuned. And finally, I may or may not have mentioned at the beginning of this evening, but usually as part of this roundtable, we also include a short presentation on the general roles and responsibilities of CACs and the EMC. Think of it as an introduction to this information that is useful for new CAC and EMC members or anyone who's interested in a refresher on the topic. In the interest of time this year, we decided to pre-record it and make it available to you on our website so that you can watch it at any time when you're interested. So again, the link for that is now also in the chat box, and we will be sharing these slides with you via an email in the next day or two. So you'll also have the links to all of these resources when we send the slides out to you. All right. And then finally, we wanted to just give you a heads up and make you aware about a really great event that we have coming up. This year, we will once again be hosting our virtual Earth Day Streamathon. And we'll be utilizing Facebook Live and Zoom again this year, and possibly some other media platforms. Events will include things like a reading of the Lorax for our younger audiences and those of us who are also young at heart, a woodland walk in partnership with the Dutchess Land Conservancy, a spring home energy checkup, a demo on composting, tips on getting outdoors, a viewing and panel discussion on plastics pollution, and much more. So stay tuned. We're going to be sharing more information about what's coming on our Facebook page, as well as ccedutchess.org. But if you are interested in partnering with helping us to get the word out into your community about the event, please feel free to reach out to me. We would love it. We would love if you could help us get the word out. And your outreach efforts may also help you qualify for points under Pledge Element 9 in the Climate Smart Community Certification Program. So if that is something you're interested in, we would be happy to help you document your participation for submission to the certification program. So again, just get in touch if you're interested. We'll be putting together like a social media toolkit to share with partners. Also, just to remind you, later this year, if your CAC and community decides to start holding in-person events, do not forget that we are happy to provide you with a variety of materials, handouts, and display resources for your events. This includes display boards like our Dutchess Single-Use Plastic Pollution Prevention Campaign display board. It includes handouts that you can share with the public on things like how to maintain a septic or how to maintain a healthy lawn while protecting a stream. Lots and lots of resources. So if we get to that place in 2021 where we're actually having public events, don't hesitate to reach out to any of our staff. We can walk you through the materials and resources we have and the various display boards we have, and you can come pick some up and use them for your community events. So with that, just a reminder to please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us if you're looking for help or assistance on any of the work that we do. And all right, with the interest of time in mind, we are gonna move on to the highlight of this evening's roundtable, and that is your presentations. So there's just a few things that I would like to review. Some of this, for those of you who joined early, you got just a quick reminder of Zoom functions and etiquette and how the rest of this evening is going to be organized. So the order of tonight's presentations has been predetermined. I reached out to all of the presenters yesterday with an email identifying the order and a few other housekeeping items to help them out. In order for us to end this evening on time and make sure we have time for each community to present, each community has only 5 minutes tonight to present. And that's to present on your accomplishments for 2020, including any successes and challenges you faced, and sharing your goals for 2021. So each community has a slide that will be shared during their presentation that includes all of the information that you shared with us in your annual reports. So thank you to all of you for getting those annual reports into us ahead of time this year. It was super helpful when thinking about how to best organize this in a virtual format. For the presenters, you will notice at the bottom left corner of your slide, there is going to be a little countdown timer that is demonstrating right now on your screen. It's going to help indicate to you how much time you have left for your presentation. This way I and or any of the other moderators don't have to interrupt you during your presentation to let you know how much time you have left. And then when your 5 minutes are up, you'll get this nice red stop sign letting you know that your time is up. Now, if you have any time remaining, if there is at least a minute or more at the end of your presentation, at that time, attendees can raise their hand and be called on by a CCE moderator to ask a question, or if the community presenting has a question that they would like to pose to the audience, that could be an opportunity to do that at that time. If you use the full 5 minutes, it's not a problem because there has also been time reserved at the end of this evening for a full question and answer session and discussion. All right, so, and just a reminder for those of you who've never raised your hand in a Zoom meeting, here's some quick instructions. Again, there's probably a couple ways that you can go about doing it, but the one I'm most familiar with is if you, again, go to that participants icon and open up the participants list. At the bottom, you should see some options, one of which it includes raising your hand. And so that's the best way to do it. If, again, you are joining us tonight, joining the audio for this meeting via your telephone instead of your computer, to raise your hand, you can select *9. And then just, and again, I can't say this enough, but just a reminder to remember that if you are not presenting or asking a question at a time, please remember to keep yourself muted. This is just a quick refresher on where you can find the mute buttons on the toolbar. And again, if you're joining us via phone, you can mute by pressing *6. You can also unmute by pressing *6. All right. Any questions about any of that before we jump into all these really great presentations for tonight? All right, so kicking us off for the evening, we're going to be starting with a presentation from Brad Barclay from Dutchess County Planning. Take it away, Brad.
Okay, so I threw in the, again, Brad Barclay, Dutchess County Planning. Trying to pick a few items that relate to the work that the CACs do. I thought I'd throw in just number of zoning referrals. Last year was 339, which is down from 429 the year before. Just an indicator of some of the pullback that we saw in the development activity at the local levels. The county planning did extend its agreements with all your municipality boards to not need to look at residential referrals because they really don't have countywide impacts again. That was done. The agreements were renewed again last year. And we also introduced a new ramp system for logging and communication and dealing with referrals that'll hopefully deal with improved communication and just the paperwork that goes with this for all your planning board secretaries, zoning board of appeals secretaries, and town and village clerks. With the Smart Communities program, we mostly worked on getting the grant contract through DEC. We're looking at doing a greenhouse gas inventory and climate action plan, collaborative workshop with 9 municipalities, including the county. It includes HVRC as a coordinator and ICLEI, local governments for sustainabilities, with the main cloud and software access that we hope to get really help this move through quickly. With the Partnership for Manageable Growth program, that's a program I hope you all know about, where the county provides matching funds for open space projects, acquisition projects, conservation easements on farmland for preservation, but also has provided a couple of different infrastructure matching projects. In the 2020, we finished our first conservation easement partnering, which was interesting because we partnered with DEC and we got an agricultural conservation easement on a property using water quality preservation funding. So it was an interesting mix. The county legislature also approved another $2.5 million in funding for the PMG program. And we improved our first infrastructure project, helping to fund the Pong wastewater treatment plant last December. In 2020, we had 5 new projects that we had applications for. 4 were farms and 1 was an open space project. I'd say successes for 2020 included the planning department was very involved in the county's COVID response. They ran a food bank, a call center out of planning, and also coordinated the food deliveries. Our GIS person was also key in support for developing these vaccine centers. The RAM startup system, I think, is a really good tool and will help ease some of the paperwork involved with referrals, and again, improve the communication process between the planning board, zoning board of appeals secretaries, and our county office. Believe it or not, progressing the DEC grant contract was as much work as anything. But that's finally getting somewhere. Okay, I guess I have about a minute left. I would jump to our 2020 projects. Again, Dutchess Kathy, the greenhouse gas inventories for working with the local municipalities. The last step we have is getting the MOUs done with the municipalities, and now be talking with your municipalities in the upcoming weeks. With the PMG projects, one of the good things we've started to see is that money is starting to become available from Ag and Markets again, which was stalled with all the rest of the state money. And we have 3 farm projects that we were hoping to complete this year that were awarded previously. And we have 2 projects that we just awarded in 2020, which both have local match, not requiring state match. And hopefully those can come through again, be completed in 2021. We are going to come up with a new limited round of funding for money that we have left in PMG. We're hoping to include something on pocket parks, and I will hopefully have an announcement soon in spring. Just to throw in, the solid waste management division of planning is doing its new solid waste management plan. The public comment at the end of the year, and I know EMC was very involved with the House of hazardous waste events, and there are 3 in the budget for this year. I guess that I will end with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. And I'm just going to do something real quick because for some reason in my, I have it under like the presenter view for PowerPoint, and for some reason I think that's preventing the timer for working. So I'm just going to stop my share real quick and see if I can fix this, and then we'll jump into the next presentation, which is the Environmental Management Council. All right, so you're up, Steve, and hopefully the timer will work this time. And if not, I will send you a message when your time is starting to run up.
Okay. So I'm Steve McCavery, the chair of the Dutchess County Environmental Management Council. In 2020, some of the things we worked on was the single-use plastic prevention campaign, or SUP campaign, that we worked closely with Michelle from Extension on that. And it was to provide community education tools and resources for local businesses to reduce the use of, plastic knives and forks and things like that. We also did a household hazardous waste study, which we studied the options that Dutchess County would have to increase the potential for household hazardous waste events or having more drop-off opportunities. We worked with a Vassar College student, and there are 3 options, but the most viable option that we came up with was to increase the number of drop-off days and increase publicity, which, as Brad mentioned, there will be 3 days in 2021. We worked on, and we did pass a resolution opposing the Dan Scammer power plant in the town of Newburgh. And we sent that to the county legislature, recommending that they look into it and possibly oppose it as well with a resolution. And if anyone in the CACs is interested in more information on that, our resolution is on the EMC's website, and Scenic Hudson's website has a lot of very good information on the negatives or the impacts, potential impacts. Yeah, I don't see the countdown timer. So our successes was that we added 3 new members and now have full membership. The SUP campaign was a success in that we had some good reach out. The household hazardous waste study we thought was another success because we identified 3 viable options that the county could take, and they can look into even a permanent facility in the future. The Dan Scammer resolution we felt was a good success. And, we took a strong stance on that. We studied it very hard and made a strong recommendation to the legislature. I put down Zoom meetings as a success because that was, after the first 1 or 2 where we stumbled along, that we've actually got the hang of it and they're working out very well. Challenges in 2021. We tried to get a Facebook page to increase our social media outreach, but that was not approved. The Dan Scammer resolution, the legislature decided to take no action on that. And we were hoping to advance the SUP campaign into next year, but CCE did not receive funding that they needed. So that's disappointment, but we'll still try to advance some of those principles going into, into this year. Our goals for this year, we're going to re-up a bunch of our subcommittees, which are monitoring websites of different groups, reduce, reuse, recycle, climate change, road salt subcommittee, and green infrastructure. And like I said, we're going to try to continue the SUP campaign efforts through 2021. So that's pretty much wraps it up.
Great, thank you, Steve. So I thought I was being clever by creating these timers on these slides. I apologize, for some reason they're not working. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to, in the chat, private message who's ever presenting and give you kind of an indicator, and when you have 2 minutes left or about a minute left, and when you need to stop and wrap up. So thank you again, Steve. Next up, we have, there's the stop sign. The town of Washington. So David Greenwood.
Okay. Hello, thank you. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission, but I also am the town historian. And one of the joys that we have in the town of Washington is that regardless of the committees interact. So the planning board, the town board, the CAC, the historical society, we all work together. And what I want to promote for all of you is one of the projects we've done for 25 years, and that's to create a calendar. And the calendar that we have each year is underwritten by the local bank, and it includes a number of images that deal with the Conservation Commission, the farms, the estates, the properties, the historic houses, and the people that have made the community so worthwhile. And the advantage of the calendar, this year's theme is, again, 25 years and the Historical Society. But what's happened is that people are sent these calendars from all around the country because of family associations. And as people die or move or no longer need images, very often they come back to the Historical Society, and many of them have to do with the town, the environment, and the farming communities. So it's a great way to document the historic elements of the community. Now, also moving beyond to the listing, what we do is what everyone does, and that is working on the inventories. And we've been working for a number of years on coding and indexing in our files every parcel in the town of Washington. So any property owner could come, find out about the property, the history of the property, and what the farm and the environmental issues are. As a farm community, that's really important. And as people move in, weekenders and so on, they want to learn about the property. And this is a way of having them become part of the community. So that's very much a CAC function as well as the town historian. We lend our insights with the planning department, with the Conservation Commission, and the other town boards as well. So if something comes up that has an environmental impact, we're there to represent it and to point out to those various boards what's important about it. The goals that we have for this coming year that are so important, obviously you've got them listed, but continuing to work with the boards. And one of the key issues that has happened this year is the office space that had been provided at the town hall for all of the files and so on has been rearranged. So we are now functioning in basically the cellar or basement area of the town hall. Because of the pandemic, the town hall has been pretty much closed to the public and to those various committees. So once the pandemic is resolved and we can open up again, we'll be able to function much better. So those are the goals we have, the successes. Again, the calendars have been extraordinary. Stephanie Morey, some of you may know Stephanie. Stephanie has worked with us for a number of years documenting those parcels and resources. So it's really a concerted effort in the community. The challenges we have, the pandemic is at the top of the list, and that would impact all of us. And then also having lost that office space and now rearranging where it is in the hall to be able to set it up appropriately. So those are the issues that we're facing today.
We're losing Stephanie.
And we're losing Stephanie. Oh, and Stephanie, again, has retired. So her position is no longer open. And we're looking for the town to be able to reestablish that community and connections.
1 minute left.
So we have 1 minute left. So the last thing I would like to do is, looking at my list, let me go through. Some of the other elements that we have, you can see in front of us, is the property development. One of our large parcels in the town of Washington, which is zoned for 10-acre zoning. There's a project afoot now that may redefine that area and to develop it. And the impact that has on the environment could be major. So we're working very closely with the planning department, the town department, to look at what could be potentially a major impact on our rural area. 10-acre zoning could easily become a commercial development, housing development, and restaurants. So that's one of the big issues that we'll continue working with. And my wife, who's next to me, says that so I have used up my 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. So next up is Kiko from the town of Unionville.
Hi, thank you so much, Carolyn. We in Unionville are pleased to report that we're pretty far along in developing the Unionville's natural resources inventory. Last fall, Sean Carroll, our intrepid GIS resource educator at Cornell Cooperative, completed the series of 20 maps with funding allocated by the Hudson River Estuary Program. Thank you. And this mapping work was presented to the town board in September by Nate Nardi-Cyrus, our tireless consultant on the project from the DEC. And we're now working on the text narratives to accompany the visual material, excuse me, with the goal of having the NRI completed by the fall, which includes now working with geologists and foresters and streamshed management experts and others who can help us review and finalize the text so that residents and members of the general public can get a clear understanding of the information that these maps are providing. In spring 2020, 11 bird boxes were installed in Timor Park, and our ACE park manager oversaw their installation along with their upkeep, having them checked and cleaned later in the year. Also, we have a new CAC member, Jen Rubo, who wrote and received an $8,000 grant from the New World Foundation local champion program to support a climate smart community coordinator. And the grant enables her to work some 10 to 15 hours a week as Unionville's coordinator. We didn't have a task force, but the town took the pledge in 2018, and we've been slowly working towards bronze certification. Jen also worked with her students in the introductory environmental science class at Vassar on creating a baseline inventory of Unionville's greenhouse gas emissions. And the class used the semester's final project to carry out preliminary assessments of community level greenhouse gases, gas emissions, and sequestration, framing the work to align with the New York State CSD checklist. The students assessed estimated carbon sequestration in forests and in other land use types. And the great news we found is that Unionville is basically carbon neutral or possibly even carbon negative due to the large amount of forested area in the town. Also, lack of emissions from transportation. We didn't include Sky Acres airport data, but we still feel pretty positive about the report. Summer outreach and educational events in Timor Park were put off due to the virus, but in October we did go through with one food for thought event with a food truck present and 2 short films by local filmmaker John Bowermaster, one about the Hudson River, the other about farmscape ecology, and we had about 30 to 40 attendees, which we were happy about. Plans for 2021 for that range from talks about pollinator plants and management of invasive species to a short history about the town. We're working on programming and scheduling now. We had hopes to get more organized and formal exchange program going at the recycling center, but we realized the pandemic was not really the moment to encourage the exchange of used household goods. So we hope to return to that initiative in the coming year. Management of invasive species continues to be a concern. And in 2020, we learned that funding for a weevil program in Unionville wasn't reviewed. The program was geared towards the eradication of a pretty vast spread of mile-minute vine in Clove Valley. And so we're kind of evaluating where we go from here, whether it's weevils through private funding or some kind of targeted spraying or whatever. So stay tuned. Working towards bronze certification, need more members. And we hope in 2022 to start thinking about critical environmental areas and open space planning and finishing up the NRI. So thank you.
Thank you, Akiko. All right. Up next is Gregory Williams from the town of Stanford.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Greg Williams, Town of Stanford CAC member. For 2020, we applied for the Lifeboats HV grant. Although not accepted into the program, we did make headway in our internal processes for how we're going to go about grants and generally, work towards getting the resources together towards becoming a climate smart community. We did a lot of researching in 2020 about the fundamentals and figure out how to gain support with the town for Stanford to join the New York State's Climate Smart Communities program. We identified key players within our Stanford CAC to lead and diversify our roles so that we can accomplish the eventual goal of becoming bronze certified. We started various educational programs, rather the planning of those that interact with the public or encourage the public to do their part in maintaining the health of the environment. We have a lot of new homeowners in Stanford. We're one of the faster growing towns in Dutchess County. So we think this is a good avenue to get towns folk involved with the CAC and the environment. And we've been looking at grants that could help fund our projects for the town's environmental well-being. Some of our 2021 goals, we really need to further develop our Climate Smart Communities team and get that all into a nice, neat package so that we can, continue with our goal of becoming bronze certified. We do have in the works an annual trash pickup day, April 24th, where we'll pull in various community organizations and townsfolk and the CAC to go to the roads of Stanford and pick up the trash around the area. We've started getting into social media to raise the awareness about conservation within our town, specifically the amphibian migration, which has happened and is happening throughout the next several weeks. We have a few different areas in our town that definitely have some invasive species and resulting tick problems. We've been managing and been trying to manage. It's been a little bit difficult with COVID. Cleanups of these areas, vegetation management of various sorts, and generally just helping the town guide the town council to be more environmentally friendly. Some of our successes, well, I believe that applying for the Life Goals HV as a newer CAC was a big step. Writing grants are, it's a skill that needs to be developed, and I think that we're getting there in that regard. And we've gained members and gained enough new members that we're at full capacity now. So that's a really good success. We have a very strong budding CAC that I think is going to do a lot of really good work over the next few years. We're always welcoming additional resources. We definitely are appreciative of Cornell Cooperative Extension and all the resources that they provide, and fully will be trying to utilize those. And another big challenge, of course, was transitioning more to a virtual meeting environment. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time to talk, and have a good night.
Thank you, Greg. So Greg has 1 minute left. Is there any questions that folks would like to pose to the town of Stanford CAC? Remember to use the raise your hand function, or you can type a question in the chat box if you have a particular question at this time. Otherwise, where is your social media presence?
I believe we're starting to utilize the town of Stanford Facebook. And then we are working on getting Instagram, I believe, or Twitter running for as well. So stay tuned. So.
Great. Any other quick questions folks want to add in the chat? All right. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. And our next presenter is Mark from the town of Rhinebeck.
Hi, I'm Mark Dixon. Can you hear me okay? Sometimes my audio is bad.
No, it's good.
Good. I'm with the town of Rhinebeck Conservation Advisory Board, and I'm a fairly new member, and I'm probably the longest serving member on the board. And so that's been our biggest challenge, is that we have all new members, and we didn't have kind of that continuity of the past to kind of move us through and to guide us to where we are now. So we've kind of been just kind of finding our way. And one thing that we found is that the planning board keeps us busy. We get most of the referrals. Every application that goes before the planning board ends up being referred to us. So that's kind of been our goal of 2020, was really just to keep up with the referrals, with the amount of volunteers we had. You know, we were down to just a small board, and now we're finally back up to almost 8 members, almost a full board. And just being able to work with the planning board and getting the information to us so that we could, in a timely manner, produce reports for them was important. And initially, the value of the reports wasn't as important as just getting them reports, just so we could say, we got your report. Now we're trying to make those reports more significant. And the other challenge for us has been finding the maps, finding the information so that we know what we're protecting. And we're fortunate we've been given an opportunity to work with the Hudson River Estuary Program, and Nate Nardisaris has offered us the Technical Assistance Partnership Program for this summer. So we're going to be working on putting our NRI together, and that to me will be a great accomplishment, just for being able to review these applications coming before us, so that we can know what we're protecting, to have the maps in one place, so that we can do a thorough review of these projects that are ahead of us. So that's kind of what we've been working on. Other projects that we've had were a walkway that we wanted to have between the village and the town of Rhinebeck. And the town's hired a consultant, and they're right now in the process of doing a feasibility study, and they have 3 alternatives, and that's going out to the public very shortly. Hopefully we can narrow them down, and if we're successful, we'll be able to start applying for some grants and get that walkway achieved. And then we'll have some park initiatives that we're working on. We have one member who lives across from the town park, so he's very interested in making sure that park has continued improvement. And so he's taken on that as an initiative. And also now the NRI, I said we were looking for strategies to accomplish the NRI, but fortunately we found that strategy, and we had that technical assistance partnership, and that's what we're working on now. So once we have the NRI, then we can think of branching out and doing more things for the town. But that to us right now is our main priority, is the NRI. That's all I have. I didn't use my 5 minutes, but.
Oh, there is about 1.5 minutes remaining. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. Any questions for Mark and the work that the town of Rhinebeck will be doing? Just give you all a second. Well, sometimes it takes a minute to type something in the chat.
Right.
Just give everybody a couple more seconds.
I know everybody likes to move along.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time for questions and conversation at the end. Well, so thank you, Mark, and I apologize to you all because my dog is making weird noises in the background, so I will mute myself in a moment. But up next, I believe, is the town of Red Hook, Lori Houston and Lori Urban.
Hey, sound check here, all good? All right, the other Lori's son came home from college unexpectedly, so you get this, Lori. So I guess I wanted to see what I'd written here. I wanted to talk a little bit about how we love it when someone else does the structure and organization and we can help amplify. And so in particular, someone's already talked about the amphibian migrations. That had always been something that I organized with the CAC, but now we have a watershed community who took the lead. So we still participate, but we're not kind of running things locally for that DEC program. So that was a good partnership that has developed. Likewise, working with the Dutchess County Transportation Council and Emily Dozier for the bike pedestrian counts, right? So she just calls upon us twice a year to sign up to volunteer for these counts in our community. And so we try to get the villages and the town represented in that. And I hope next, when we hear from Poughkeepsie, there'll be something that we can participate with the pollinator pathway. The other weird thing you'll see in my background is the sort of the sustainability lens that we've been putting on top of our conservation work. So it's a couple of things, right? So we have keeping in mind the economic well-being and social well-being in our community, as well as some of the more classic things you think about. And also, again, kind of trying to stay connected to our villages, represented by that the blank spots on our town map, Village and Red Hook. The village of Tivoli and the village of Red Hook, and just trying to stay connected with those stakeholders on the work we're doing that crosses boundaries. Likewise, I look to Rhinebeck to our south and thinking about the NRI and, you know, where we might have some synergies there on a project, because we're interested in that as well. So the other thing on my other shoulder is this weird sort of representation of what we've been working on over the COVID year, which is the Audubon Sustainable Certification Program. And that has been expanding what we traditionally think about when we look at the focus areas that they provide. There are 15 focus areas over my shoulder, and you can see environment, natural resources, open space, education, volunteerism are things that we often interact with as CACs, but it kind of goes to the next level and includes one circle out with transportation, governance, planning, and zoning, and then even economic development, safety, public health, and housing. And it's been very interesting this year going through these focus areas and talking to new people in the community and kind of layering our work with theirs and finding real opportunities to advance all our causes together, and not sort of be siloed in the work that we're doing. And an example of that came up today. I was on a call with the library and the community center and the civic engagement people at Bard College and the community, did I say the community center? Anyway, a number of people, and was talking about the deaths that happen because of air pollution, and you know how we typically talk about cleaning up the environment for reasons for nature. And immediately the librarian talked about the public health component and how she wanted to tie it to lead in our housing stock and asbestos and other kinds of things that were important to her in the work she does in communicating with our community through the library system. So I think that's what I wanted to share. I'm not recommending you go through this certification program, but I'm recommending it's interesting, and I can maybe share out lessons at the end of the year, more interesting lessons. Also, we heard from someone about their cleanup day, maybe Stanford. We're also doing a cleanup day, and the same sort of expansion opportunities exist there. Oh, I gotta stop. Okay. So I'm gonna put something in the chat that I wanted to say.
Okay, and there'll be more time too as part of the discussion later to talk about where there's overlap and how we might be able to collaborate and work together. So thank you so much, Lori. And next up, we have the town of Poughkeepsie, and Susan will be presenting on the behalf of
Hi, everybody. Just want to make sure my microphone's working. I have
It's
another
working great.
computer next to me as backup, which is why there are two of me in the meeting, which seems appropriate because I'm here tonight to talk to you from the CAC, where I am a member, but also about what's going on in Climate Smart, which I chair for the town. I want to give you some of the highlights of both groups, both of which have made incredible progress over the past year. We have most of our CAC here tonight, including our chair, Pam Kingsley, and we have at least one other Climate Smart Task Force member. And I was just remarking to Pam in the chat that I believe this is my third round table, and wow, we're in such a different place when we were the first time. I saw Michelle nodding. So I'm very excited about that. So on behalf of the CAC, our NRI and open space plan are now in progress. We're collaborating with a wonderful engineering firm, and we participated fully in selecting that firm. This is a one-year process. It's scheduled to wrap up around November. Tomorrow night's our first public meeting, so we're very excited. And, so we're really excited that we're getting that done. We've also been having this very successful public workshop series on Zoom once a month over the winter and spring. We've had a bunch of different topics, such as recycling, plastic reduction, home heating. We're looking ahead to sessions on composting and solar. And I really want to give a shout out to the Cornell Extension staff, many of whom have been supporting these workshops. And I see a bunch of people here that I know came last week to the Pollinator Pathway workshop, which was the launch of our official town pathway project, which has now turned really into a county-wide project. I never dreamed that this would happen when I started this thing. We have the schools involved, we have the colleges, a lot of other stakeholders. The video of last week's workshop, which drew 70 people from all over the county and even outside the county, is now on the town's YouTube channel. So please, I know other municipalities are moving in this direction. If you would like to talk about it or know more, please just find me. And I noticed on one of the earlier slides that you are planning a Pollinator Pathway Forum, Carolyn. So I'd like to know what you're planning and if I can somehow connect with you on that.
We plan on engaging you in the planning process.
So I did reach out to the EMC. I've already talked to them about this project. So I look forward to talking to you about that. So those are a lot of the things going on with the CAC. And then in terms of Climate Smart, we did submit in January, thanks to Michelle, for our initial certification. So we're not quite there yet, but we hope that we're going to reach that goal later this year. A few of our planned actions, of course, have been delayed, like everyone, including our participation in CAC Dutchess. The town is finishing up a new comp plan, the NRI, these things are all going to figure in. So we have to update some of our submissions. We are also really great, going strongly on supporting EV infrastructure for municipal property and our business owners, participating in the new discussion about composting and looking at the opportunities in clean energy communities and some of the high impact actions there, including that we are working with Danielle. I see your message, thank you. Working with Danielle on a Solar for All campaign, which was just approved. So that's going to be our community campaign. The last thing I would just like to say, two things. First of all, the town is redoing its entire website. And when it's done, our pages are going to be stepped up. We are encouraging them to get a social media policy so we can do more on that front in the coming year. And finally, both of our groups have exquisite new logos that were designed for us by the graphic arts students at Dutchess in the service learning program. And that was really fun. So we're happy to have those out in the world and provide that opportunity to the students as well. Thank you. Hope to see you in person next time.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Susan. And now next up is Mita from the town of Pleasant Valley. Mita, you're still on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself. There you go.
I got all those instructions. So we passed a resolution. First of all, I should say this has been a year of planning and canceling. So it's been difficult, but we passed the resolution so that we became a climate smart task force and designated Ellen Kuttner. And we had a number of meetings, but we were not sure what was going to work or what we were going to get supported for. So that was not very successful, but we have to thank Danielle, who worked very dutifully with us. Ellen Kuttner worked, had many conversations about updating the transfer station and figuring out about recycling. So that was something that she did, but the town board is kind of slow making decisions. No one else has mentioned town boards. We also planned Earth Day last year, and we had all kinds of plans for composting and single-use plastic displays, and that was canceled. So that was that. And we've also are in the process of looking at the possibility of grants for trails or grants for open space development. So we have to make sure we have a functioning group to look at that. I think we have someone who can work with grants, so I hope that'll work out. So we decided to start planning Earth Day for 2021 last fall, and so that we were ready for whatever happens and whether we can follow through on this. So I was working with, traditionally we have had cleanup day around Earth Day, and then we began to combine it with other demonstrations and things like, and more CAC events. So the base is clean up the roads, and we have a mess. I don't know how many other people are experiencing this, but we have 44 and we have other highways, and when the snow went away, we have a mess. So this year, we don't know whether we're going to have any snacks, but we are definitely going to have composting display, and we are going to have our work on plastic. We sort of got very involved in plastic. Debbie Glynn and Jean Curley, we did a lot of research, and we had an event at the Pleasant Valley Library so that we could kind of clarify what we had learned and what we wanted to do in the future. We focused a lot on single use for the town, and I think it's a wonderful way to make people involved immediately. Like the next day, they cannot get a plastic cup. They can bring their own cup. But we also investigated a lot of related issues in terms of plastic. And we looked at ocean pollution. I took a big world map and indicated the great plastic plastic garbage places in the ocean. And the more we found out, the more horrifying it gets. So what I've been thinking about is whether or not we need to really look at the global impact of plastic to try to deal with this.
So Mita,
yeah.
You're out of time.
Oh, okay. Is there anything I need to say? Absolutely. Okay, so that if anyone else is interested in kind of expanding the larger issue of plastics and the way in which recycling doesn't seem to be expanding but decreasing, there are just so many issues that make it difficult. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mita. I just wanted to have a quick check-in. Is there anyone joining us tonight from the CAC in the town of Pine Plains. We hadn't heard, and so I just wanted to make sure we could give you all an opportunity to provide an update if you joined us tonight. And you can just unmute yourself. All right, so we will proceed with the town of Northeast and the village of Millerton, and presenting will be Kathy Chow.
Hi, I'm Kathy Chow. So I'm a CAC member, but I'm also the CSC coordinator. And we're a little bit of an unusual municipality because we're actually two. We're the village and the town. So that has advantages because we do a lot of things in partnership, and it has some disadvantages. For example, submitting for points to CSC means we need to do it each for each municipality. But I'm really happy to be one of the local champions. And it's fantastic training, and we're really making a lot of progress, and we're inching our way towards bronze. So in the past year, and we also got some of our CSC points already in January. So that was a big step forward and very motivating for the task force. So we've done a few things around recycling. We put our first recycling bins in the village, and we added electronics recycling to our bulk trash day. And we did some municipal projects like the road stream crossings inventory. It was 150 culverts, and some of them caused very serious flooding. And there's some animal movement issues with them. So now we have a prioritization list. And we are starting a bunch of NYSERDA CEC actions, a lot of them around energy and solar, and we're going to be installing our first EV charger in the village. We got a grant for that last year. And we've launched our social media, both Instagram and website. And it's interesting to see the different audiences on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm glad that we have both. It speaks to two different sort of populations in our town. And so last year, because Earth Day, we sponsor Earth Day, all our plans, of course, got bagged. And we pivoted really fast to doing it virtually. And we created a little website that was hosted on a local merchant site. They were very generous, and that got us off the ground. So this year we're launching a huge website, and we're doing it for Earth Day, and we have lots of events. We have both in-person events. We're doing farm tours because that's something that we can do with social distancing. And then we have some virtual events and things in the village as well. Our big project in town is that our highway garages, we have the village and the town highway garage, and they're both terrible. And the town highway garage is actually in a terrible floodplain. So all the salt would just wash right into the Weepatuck Creek. So we've started building our new highway garage, and it's going to be a joint one. And it's up Route 22 on higher ground. There's no issue there. It's going to be very modern and quite green. So we get to advise on some green initiatives to put into this highway garage, like low carbon concrete and, preparing for solar panels on the roof and some landscaping things. So that's very exciting. And I would say that our big challenge is there's so much interest here in food scraps recycling. And we actually have McEnroe's composting operation in our town. They're great. But it's very difficult without a transfer station to figure out how to get food scraps to a responsible recycling facility. We do composting demonstrations on how to do it at home, but we're talking about places where municipal stuff can go. And so that's something that Cornell is actually very helpful on, and we're participating in hopefully ways to figure out how to do that, possibly on a countywide scale. So that's my report.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And can you do me a quick favor, because it was brought to my attention that I have the wrong chair listed on this slide. So share with us who the chair of your CAC
is. The chair is Diane Englicky.
Thank you so much. I will edit this slide before I send it out to you all as a PDF. My apologies. All right, so up next is Mung Tu from the town of LaGrange. Let's see. Mung, you are still muted. Yeah, you're still on mute, Mung. Can you, let's see if I can unmute you.
Can you
Oh,
hear
there
me?
you are. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, my name is Mong Tu. Our 2020 projects, we reviewed the application to Town Planning Board and comment the environmental impacts at monthly meetings. And I think that at these also we have in these meetings, town board member Joe Luna attended our meetings. So we have most of the bulk of the work done. We're working for 5 years, Carolyn. About time we made it. And we developed and implemented a comprehensive survey. This was done for the first time. We have down at LaGrange, Greenway Trail through the stream, under the trees. And during the COVID months, people came there, walked their dogs, and then watch the birds, and even went swimming. So what we found was that the results were very positive. They said that the highway was very well maintained, and that there are very positive feelings of walking through, this Greenway Trail. And I attended the first annual meeting with New York State Social Conservation Councils on December 15th. And as a board member, I was supposed to make a presentation. So I made a presentation on starting repair cafe in municipalities, pop-up positions. And I was reelected to be a board member at this virtual meeting. If you're not a member, I urge you all to join this NYSCC. Now, 2021 goals. We're going to participate in the Learning Community Day if it takes place. Right now, I think that with the COVID thing, it's on hold. If it goes virtual, we will have some alternatives. And we are going to organize and host the LaGrange Volunteer Repair Cafe to repair items free of charge in November. And I expect that they'll go, as far as I'm concerned. We're looking out now with all the vaccinations, all that bit. And then we sponsored Lead Walking Trail, Town of LaGrange, as a part of 21st Annual Hudson River Valley program, Rainbow program. Okay, I think I'm leaning on Carolyn. We're going to have to try to get your help to finally recognize as a green bronze level community. And we'll participate in LaGrange. See, this year, the LaGrange biennial 200-year anniversary. So Parks and Recreation asked us that, would you collaborate with us in this important event? And we'll do this stuff like 1 minute remaining. Yeah, we'll do that. We're going to have these bluebird boxes, and then town flower and people running events. We're also going to have EV vehicle charging station demonstration, because we have a lot of charging stations down on the range now. Carolyn, I made it time?
You have about 30 seconds.
10 seconds?
30.
30 seconds. Well, 30 seconds. Hold up. I just said, I think the biggest goal next year is trying to get bronze certification, the biggest objective. If we don't make it, we never will.
You will. You will. We'll help you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for joining us, Mong, and thank you for that update. All right, next up is Carrie from the town of Hyde Park.
Hi, so I'm Carrie from the town of Hyde Park. Thankfully this year we've, even though the pandemic, we seem to have had a very busy year for our CAC. We spent probably a bulk of our time getting our Climate Smart Communities Task Force off the ground. And we did the usual plan reviews from the planning board. And we also commented on a timber law to strengthen that so we could reduce clear cutting. But most of our tasks are really focused on the Climate Smart Community Program. So actually, I really wanted Richard Maddox to speak since he has just put in so much of his time to this program. So if you wouldn't mind going over the project. Richard, are you there?
I'm looking for my unmute button. There we go. How's the microphone there, folks?
Good.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we put a lot of effort into the whole Climate Smart community. The town started the pledge, did the pledge back in 2015 or 2016, but finally, just about a year ago, they went ahead and formed the task force, and we put our shoulders down and away we went. Turns out, and this is one of the real lessons for the folks who are early in their CAC tour. Once Danielle, bless you, Danielle, if people don't know who Danielle is, you should. She helped us go through and discovered that we were better than 3/4 of the way towards our bronze certification, just based on the wonderful environmental focus that the town has had in past years. We just needed to understand that with Danielle's help, and then pull together the documentation. We've just recently received word that we'll get started on the NRI, and that's supporting the needs of the town, felt needs of the town. We are in the final throes of getting the community solar program together. We invested a huge amount of time putting together the community aggregation program. And right down to the final stages, and we had at the last moment, the board decided that it was not the right time to do that. I certainly encourage people to consider the aggregation program. We'll do it again when we can spend more face time with people in order to make people more comfortable with the aggregation program. We've had the same personnel challenges that you folks have had. So much work, how many warm bodies do you have? Regardless of how focused and dedicated you are, you still have just so much time in a day. We've been fortunate in that we've been able to find 3 or 4 volunteers who didn't really join the committees, but they have special interests in areas. And so what we did was we circulated an extensive list of these are the things that are out there. We've identified 100 or so organizations in Hyde Park with an environmental outdoor orientation. And we reached out to all these folks and said, here are some things that we're focusing on. What turns you on? What really turns your crank? And people came in and said, you know what? I really love biking. You are now the head of that biking committee. And we're very much interested in LED lighting. You now are in charge of that. And give people an opportunity to feel comfortable pursuing things that they're actually passionate about themselves. And it's permitted us to do things that we would not have been able to do with the number of personnel that we had available. We submitted the champion, the lifeboat grant. We were turned down, and we felt really bad about that until we were told, you folks have advanced too much. You don't need to really focus on the lifeboat right now. There's some other folks that are where you were last year, and we're going to be helping them get to where you are today. So that was a very pleasant compliment. We're moving into benchmarking. but we are aggressively finishing up our bronze and have our focus on silver. We're going to be going after that. We are also doing quite a bit of work with the Fallkill Creek. And it's a coalition of 5 different towns. We'll probably be reaching out to Stop. We'll probably be reaching out to Pleasant Valley and others. You did that so subtly, Carolyn.
Well, it's time for you to wrap up. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, and feel free to share more if you have more to share at the Q&A, but we do need to move along so everyone has their 5 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, so next up is Brent from the town of East Fishkill.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate that. Again, just to real quickly go over what we've got here. We continue to look for qualified folks for the CAC in East Fishkill. We have 6 now. We have 1 more member applicant. We'd love to have 1 more member so we can have 8 plus our ad hoc members. So continue to look for good talent. So if you hear of anyone moving into East Fishkill that has an interest in the environment, please certainly get them in contact with us. We had some through Pete Barassi, we've had a regular presence at the Dutchess County EMC, and thank you, Pete, for your dedication to that group. So Pete does keep us well informed as far as what's going on there. We've had some ups and downs with the planning board, East Fishkill Planning Board this year. There was some leadership changes, so we've gotten to kind of reestablish ourselves with the planning board a little bit and gotten back on their radar again. So we've begun to once again get referrals where we were kind of we had a bit of a hiatus for a while there, and of course we do attend with with in person, well, not in person, but with Zoom, comment at the planning board when we have items that we have commented on that there's there's additional information that we can add in. And again, going on to 2021, talked about our membership goals. We want to keep that increasing. Now the next one, we've been talking about initiating a Fishkill Creek Watershed Association for the last couple of years with some of the surrounding towns, but I think we're starting to get a little bit of traction. We did get have some nice discussion at last month's meeting about the Sprout Creek Initiative, which looks like it's going to be maybe a start to a study of the Sprout Creek. It's been endorsed by the supervisor for the town of LaGrange, but it's something that we plan to jump on with both feet with the town of East Fishkill in support and also manpower to make that happen, because we just feel that the Fishkill Creek watershed is so underserved and could very well benefit from the same thing that the Wappingers Creek Association did. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to continue referrals, comments from referrals, going to continue to increase our involvement in the town Arbor Day events and Earth Day events if they happen. We've heard of a little bit happening, but again, it's kind of tentative with COVID still being around. But hopefully our community day in September will go. The community will feel confident enough to go ahead and come out for that, and we'll actually be able to have that event. So if we do, we'll be definitely involved in that, in a fairly big way. And then finally, on our goals for 2021, I think we'll start to explore a climate smart community designation. We haven't had a chance to yet, but I know that's something that's on our radar and we'd love to do it. So I'll be looking for some information on that. That's pretty much it for me, Carolyn. Thanks.
Thank you, Brent. All right, so next up is the town of Dover, and I believe Evan Van Hook is going to be presenting.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. I have undesignated done my opened up my video, so I hope it's working in any case. Yeah, this was actually as a lot of people have also mentioned, despite COVID, it was a pretty active year. Most important probably is that the town did achieve bronze level certification for the Smart Communities program, Climate Smart Communities. And for us, probably like in a lot of towns, the CAC also serves as sort of the advisory group for the Climate Smart Communities group certification. So we tend to be very involved in that. We partner. First of all, I would also have to say we support our force of nature, who is Katie, who's our town clerk, and she is just amazing. So she really leads the effort, but the CAC really sort of comes in underneath there and helps her achieve that. And they did achieve it this year, which is just fantastic. We also did a town-wide upgrade of our street light lighting with LED, which was extremely important. And then also we completed data collection and visioning work for a DEC grant for the sustainability element of our town comprehensive plan, which I think we have a lot of high hopes for. Again, a lot of folks that are on the CAC are also sort of on the advisory committee for the sustainability component of the comprehensive plan. So they all sort of fit together. We also participated in intermunicipal 10 Mile River Watershed Collaborative. Our town is in the 10 Mile River watershed, and it's I think there's really a growing awareness that the watershed has to be protected as a whole. And so there's a collaborative that's been formed that connects all of the towns, and that's been actually very effective. They're developing a watershed plan, and it's really working well. And the CAC again can participate in that. We applied for to the Change Charge Ready New York program to install public electric vehicle charging stations in the town. We've helped the town board apply for a Dutchess County CDBG grant for town parks improvement. We've helped the town apply for and receive a grant from the Hudson River Valley Greenway Communities Program for a consultant to review our draft comprehensive plan update. We've assisted the town and Frogs initiative to transfer a 6.3 acre tax delinquent parcel in the Great Swamp. It's now gone into permanent conservation. So that was a very important piece of conservation. And then also the last one is perhaps even, well, at least equally, which is that we supported the town's successful application to the Dutchess County's partnership for, oh gosh, it's so tiny, manageable growth program to acquire approximately 170 acres of land adjacent to the Dover Stone Church for permanent conservation. An incredible piece of property. If you haven't been out to Dover, Stone Church is, one of the sort of the wonders of the world. It was painted by many of the Hudson River landscape painters, and it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful scene. And this is 170 acres adjacent to it. So really, really important. And then for 2021, we want to complete the purchase and installation of a public electrical vehicle charging center. The library through the Change Ready, take the library through the Change Ready New York electrical vehicle rebate program. We're going to roll in and achieve designation in the Clean Energy Communities program, assist the town to complete and adopt the comprehensive plan, which is what I said we're all sort of working on a bit, and then enroll in the NYSERDA Flex Tech program application and pursue implementation of the comprehensive town facilities energy efficiency improvements through a Flex Tech energy study. So a lot of stuff was focused around the climate smart communities for quite a while, and then some really important conservation measures. And now we're sort of branching out into a couple of new things. So that's it.
Great. That was like perfect timing. Great job.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Evan. And next up, we have Barbara from the town of Clinton presenting. Barbara, if you are on, you are still muted. Yeah, Barbara, we can't hear you for some reason. Your audio isn't working. Yeah, we can't hear you. I have an idea. How about you spend a couple minutes working on your audio, and maybe you can chat with Sean and he can help you out. We'll go to the next community, and then we'll come back to the town of Clinton after the next community or two, so that Barbara has a chance. So we have a chance to hear from her. All right, so with that in mind, if you all don't mind, Cliff, would you mind going next? Cliff from the town of Beekman. Cliff, you are on mute as well too. Let's see. There you go. You are now unmuted, Cliff.
Better?
Yep, that's great.
You ready?
All right, go ahead, Cliff.
Okay. I'm Cliff Schwark, the chairman of the Town of Beekman CAC. Starting with our work completed here, after 6 years, the CAC has finally developed and implemented a timber harvesting and forestry management law for the town of Beekman, a major achievement. We've also obtained a grant for the NRI, and we're moving along very smartly on that. We've developed, with Sean's help, about 20 maps, and we're now developing the narratives to go with these maps. As far as the outcome of these, the forestry law is going to permit the safe and orderly harvesting of timber within the town while properly protecting the trees and the forest of the town. And the NRI maps and narratives are going to be very valuable to provide information to assist the town with its various planning requirements. During the year, we lost 2 members, but we were able to replace them with 2 excellent ones. Now, as far as the obstacles, well, the COVID-19 obviously was effective on us like every other CAC, but we're starting next month with in-person meetings. So we're looking forward to that. And then the other obstacle, and we're working through it, is the narratives. They required quite a bit of technical knowledge, and we've fortunately been working through it. But they have been difficult. But our friend Nate has been very helpful with that. As far as plans for 2021, we are going to hold in-person meetings, like I said. We're going to continue the NRI program development, and I expect I'll add 1 new member. I'm pretty picky about who I pick, but we'll probably add 1 more, and then we'll continue to monitor all planning board activity, which we have done. We're very fortunate. We've made some major changes in the town and our planning board, and one of our planning board members also happens to be chairman of the planning board. That works very much in our favor. And that's my report for the town of Beekman.
Great, thank you, Cliff.
You're welcome.
I think we're gonna try to go back to town of Clinton. Barbara, are you on it
now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Great.
Small little things. Sorry.
No worries. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. So no worries.
I'm trying to keep the noise level down from the house here, even though it's very quiet. So it was the headphones. Hi, I'm Barbara Mansell, the chair of our little town of Clinton. We didn't meet in person, and we also were slow in getting going because it was, again, we're a small town. But we have been working on the Climate Smart Communities project we have developed a climate smart webpage, which I'm not sure how many people actually go to look at it, but hopefully we can get more folks to look at that as we progress with the climate smart project. Big thing was we did the community choice aggregation, and that began, oh, I'm sorry, it was July 1st actually. And that was a big step in getting the 4th high impact goal done for trying to become a clean energy, designated as a clean energy community. And part of that was where we worked with the Hudson Valley Community Solar and the supervisors so that we could implement the program. This was over and above the community choice aggregation. And it's a really good program, the solar, community solar. It basically gives folks access to solar energy without putting in, ground mounted solar panels and or roof panels. And residents can save up to 10% on their annual electrical bill. So that was a good encouragement. And we have a wonderful town board member. Some of you were saying about the town boards are a little bit difficult to work with, maybe. But luckily we have Michael Whitten. He had encouraged the board to write a letter of opposition to the Dansgamer plant in Newburgh, and we turned that in. We wrote a letter of support for the environmental cooperative of the Vassar Barnes for this study of the Falkhill River watershed, I believe that is. And I don't know if they got it or not. We reviewed 4 applications. The planning applications are starting to pick up as more and more people are moving into our town. But we're also we have a couple of folks on that board that are going to keep us in the link when something is due to come down the pike. So we have some time to review what the application is. We had a Eagle Scout build and install bat boxes on our Clinton Nature Trail, which was quite fun. We did apply for the local champions pilot program. Thank you, Michael Whitten. Unfortunately, we did not receive it, but we were told, try again, that we're proceeding the way we should be. And we have attended some of the Zoom programs, which like one in particular, stream and buffer protection, the webinar series, I think was that in September. And we continue to distribute our newcomer folders, which have got a lot of environmental pieces, things like, mosquitoes and wetland. That's something I think that the Soil and Water had a brochure on, and we put things for people to know how to preserve what they live, what they should, it's rural Clinton, keep it rural and keep it the way it is why they bought their places to be in our town. So our new goals, oh, that's right, I skipped over MailChimp. MailChimp was a really cool thing. We finally encouraged the town board to accept it. And what was great about it is I was able to send out an email to our town and looking for members to join our CAC. We've been running a deficit for quite some time. And the 2 little lures was to have folks come and join us for the pollinator pathway project. Thank you, Susan, very much for that. And also the building a climate smart task force. And those are 2 new big challenges for us that is going to be very exciting. I mean, first we have to be designated as a clean energy community. But we have had folks come forward. I'm really, really excited because there's a lot of folks from different backgrounds and vocations that will be able to help what we would like to do. And I think we're going to have to probably split it seems like we need to split the 2, have a separate CAC and for the pollinator pathway, and then also having something separate, the climate smart task force, because there's a lot of work and to try to focus on all of that. And this year I'm hoping, let's see, what else do I have in here? This
Well,
year
we
we're
actually
hoping-
have to wrap up, Barbara, because
Okay,
you are
very
out of
good.
time.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you so much. And next up, we have the town of Amenia, Michael Peak presenting for Amenia. Michael, are you on? Ooh, I see that you're here, Michael. There
I
you
am, I
are.
think.
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Hi, I'm Michael Peak, the CAC chair in the town of Amenia. We have not been super active in 2020. COVID just provided a few too many challenges, I think, for us. Until recently, we were largely on pause over the past year, but we're firing things up again now. We've had a couple of meetings recently. We've got a full boat or close to it, maybe room for one. And I have to say, I have a great group of people. There's really good energy. There's good enthusiasm in our group. And I'm grateful for them. I'm also grateful and very glad to be a part of the event tonight. I always leave this meeting feeling motivated, feeling inspired, and honestly, feeling pretty humbled by all of the great work that everybody does. It's pretty amazing. So thank you to the organizers and thank you to my fellow participants. 2020 projects, it's ongoing stuff, working towards climate smart community certification, continuing work on our road stream crossing analysis and climate smart resiliency planning assessment. And we also continued our participation in the 10 Mile River Watershed Collaborative. We're working now to identify some projects that'll be hopefully included in there in our visioning and goals document. Some projects here in Amenia. So we're excited about that. With regard to 2021 goals, it's basically getting that stuff done. As well as some Earth Day events, co-sponsoring and participating in the annual town cleanup, along with the town's enhancement committee, and co-sponsoring and participating in a spring cleanup of Borden Park, which has been replanted and is being maintained by the Amenia Garden Club. So it's kind of neat. And then I think I just want to educate myself and our other members through online resources, workshops, webinars, etc. I kind of feel like we missed out on an opportunity to do this over the past year, but I also feel like there's a wealth of resources out there for us to still take advantage of. In terms of challenges, that's kind of, I guess, where I wanted to focus a little bit more. We're facing some, what I feel are fairly significant challenges. One is code enforcement. Code enforcement is often, it seems, uneven and insufficient. And I feel that the town often fails to uphold and enforce local laws that are intended to protect the environment, protect our natural resources. And instead, they tend to defer to DEC oversight. Oh, DEC is taking care of it. DEC is taking care of it. Or status quo, or maybe it's just that they're super pro-business. I don't know. But I do feel like, you know, there's more that needs to be done there. I have one specific example I can talk about at the end, if there's still time. I don't know. Also interested, we seem to have a recurring problem with littering along our country roadsides. And I'd be interested to know what other people do. What's the answer? What are best practices? Is it signs, fines, cameras? So just interested to hear from other folks on that. And then I hear about other folks talking about great relationships with boards and all the referrals they get. And we're not quite in that position right now. So how do we increase our influence? How do we insert ourselves more in that dynamic? And I don't feel that our boards do interact with each other the way that they should. Is there something we can do there? Along with that, how can we cultivate relationships with environmental officials at the county and the state level, folks at DEC and other folks there as well? So I guess it's kind of a general appeal for how do we do a better job of networking and inserting ourselves. And thank you for listening. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Michael. And in just a couple minutes, we can circle back to some of those questions. Last but not least, we have the City of Beacon presenting. And I believe, Sergey, are you presenting for Beacon tonight?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for having us. And I can piggyback to Amania's question. Something that Beacon did see, to probably surprise to many of us, was the amount of public support for environmental issues in Beacon this year. It started with the election back in 2019. We had a new mayor and a lot of new members of the city council. Community groups and CAC kind of did a lot of work to bring sustainability to the front burner. We had a lot of meetings between CAC and community groups, and where city council candidates were involved. So, you know, they kind of had to take positions, and several of them became real advocates for sustainable initiatives. And that made a lot of work that we've been trying to do for years quite possible, but a lot of organizing beforehand and political pressure, and, you know, new mayor who was open to and very supportive of these initiatives. Which kind of led to quite a few achievements. We completed NRI. We started the Sustainable Beacon initiative, which was mostly run by community groups. So members of community, we send out a lot of requests, collect a lot of data from residents on which topics were of interest, and then between CAC, Green Beacon Coalition, and a couple of the city council members, we narrowed it down to several kind of focuses. So it was energy, recycling, and waste management in general, and compost. And then each of these working groups, and they had one or two representatives of CAC attending or being part of these working groups. But through COVID, through being remote, it felt like a full-time job, you know, hours of meetings a week. And we came up with a lot of initiatives that were eventually submitted to the city council and adopted. City purchased 2 plug-in hybrids, adopted policy to account for environmental justice impact in any decisions made by the local government. So for 2021, we're starting open space inventory. We're looking towards working on Climate Action Planning Institute with 9 other municipalities. We're starting to implement some of projects developed by the community working groups, such as bringing back recycling to the main street, doing pilot compost program with a goal to bring compost pretty much to every house, to be able to do municipal level of compost collection from every household in city. Buying clean energy communities campaign. We also have Main Street Access Committees that charged with kind of helping Main Street businesses thrive, but one of other mandates is make Beacon more pedestrian and bike friendly. So as you know, as this is part of sustainable design, CEC has been involved in kind of supporting and providing feedback on these initiatives. Actually, they're doing a presentation to us next week on where it stands now. And another big concern for many of our residents has been total frustration over household hazardous waste collection. We all feel it's completely inadequate. So CAC supports expanding the waste collection, potentially adding Beacon as additional collection point, or even going alone and finding grants and outside contractors to do our own collection, because you know what we have now doesn't work. So some of the challenges, composting has been a challenge. We've looked into acquiring land or using some of the municipal land to do our own composting site, but we didn't have enough space. We tried talking with Speakskill and Cold Spring about a shared facility, but that didn't go far. Obviously, hazardous waste. We're also trying to institute some sort of a more rigorous and regular program of testing Fishkill Creek, which is such a big part of our town. And with COVID, we saw a lot of people going fishing and swimming because there was nowhere else to go. And even though it's not considered to be safe for swimming, so we want to know better what's happening. So I'm actually very interested to have a conversation later with East Fishkill about kind of revamping Fishkill watershed initiatives.
Sergey, you are out of time. But we are now opening it up. I apologize. You all did an excellent job. You had really great information. You all did a really good job of sticking close to your 5 minutes. We are technically at time for the roundtable this evening, but if you all are interested in staying on like about another 10-15 minutes so that you can connect with each other, so you can add additional information that you might not have been able to share in your 5 minutes, and discuss some of these common emerging topics that have come up throughout the evening. I'd be happy to stay on with you all for another 10 to 15 minutes. And if folks need to jump off because you have something else starting at 8, I totally understand. This often happens with the roundtable because there's just so much really great information that you all have to share with each other. But if you're willing to stay on, I'd like to open it up to question and answers right now. And I think the easiest way for us to do this so that we don't have like 10 people unmuting and trying to ask a question at the same time is if folks could type a question in the chat box or utilize the raise hand feature that we described in the beginning of the evening. And any of the CCE staff are going to be looking for folks to have raised their hand and we'll call on you. So who would like to open up the floor with questions? Or I know, for example, that Aminia had some questions already of other communities related to.
Lori Houston has a statement to share.
Oh, go ahead, Lori. Lori, you are still on mute.
Good.
There you go.
Am I good?
Yeah,
Great.
you're good.
If you can see my background, you'll understand many of you were connected with repair cafes and know how it has inspired community around repair and reuse up and down the Hudson River. And this was because of John. And we wanted to honor him after his sudden death. So one of the things the CAC did was we bought his book and donated it to our local libraries and school libraries. And I just wanted to read the couple of sentences we put in the book plate inscription. John was a visionary and an internal optimist. He knew that the Repair Cafe could be a great way to help people fix their beloved items and keep them out of the trash. But the lasting legacy was John's vision that the Repair Cafe would build community. We hope that by sharing this book, readers will have the opportunity to learn from John and find ways to help care for our lives, our communities, and our planet. Thanks.
And thank you for sharing that, Lori. I know a lot of communities have, taken up the repair cafes and also learned from what it sounds like John initiated in your community. I'm sure you're feeling a big loss at this time. And thank you for sharing that tribute. Any additional questions? It looks like Maya has a question that she placed in the chat box. It looks, her question is, so many programs and initiatives. How do we prioritize, choose, and distinguish what fits our community? Anyone have any thoughts or insights that they'd like to respond? Feel free to unmute yourself and respond to Maya. I know we're overwhelmed at Dutchess and trying to think of all the resources. That's one of the benefits of being in the Hudson Valley is that there are a lot of programs. There's a lot of nonprofits and agencies and organizations providing support to communities. And there's a lot of work to be done in your communities. Anyone have any guidance on how you all prioritize what to work on next or where to start? Lori added, work on what you love, and then you will find others to help. That's a good piece of advice. Other insights? I heard someone on mute.
Yeah, that was me, Carolyn.
Go for it, Nate.
For those who don't know me, I'm Nate Nardi Cyrus with DC Hudson River Estuary Program. A suggestion might be to look at your municipal comprehensive plan or open space plan or natural resources inventory or some kind of a prior planning document. And sometimes there's recommendations right in there. So it's helpful not to reinvent the wheel if you already have some of that work done for you. So that's just one recommendation. And shameless plug for myself, look in the chat. I have a couple DEC opportunities for technical assistance and grant funding. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is also in the chat. All right, thank you.
And we'll also share Nate's email and contact information and links to the funding opportunities that he provided in the chat box in our follow-up emails to make sure you all get that information. Anyone else?
I'd
Go
like
ahead,
to
Susan.
comment. I'd like to comment on her question with two things. I'm going to be very careful how I say this. I think you need to be very realistic about your community from a political perspective. You need to find places where you can bridge divides and find shared concerns. I have to sit around tables with people who are very different than I am. One of the first things I always say to whoever it is, I'm here for my kids. How about you? That's really, because that's really true. That's really why I'm at the table. You have to find a place of shared concern, and it may have to evolve what you thought you were going to work on. You may have to change that plan, at least temporarily. I also wanted to echo something that I know Richard said earlier, which is let the people on your group take something and run with it. Some of the strongest things we're doing, for example, the pollinator project was just this thing I wanted to do because I have a personal interest in it. We have a strong movement on EV stuff in our Climate Smart group because we have a couple of members of the task force who are just laser focused on this, and they're taking it and run with it, and they have the interest. So I think those considerations are very important because I agree, it is overwhelming everything you could do. And there's Climate Smart, and there's clean energy, and there's this and there's that. It is truly potentially overwhelming. So I think those are all really reasonable things to take into consideration when you're deciding where to focus. Thank you.
Great pieces of advice, Susan. Thank you.
Yep.
Sergey?
Yep. So the question of selecting priorities, absolutely support. You have community members who know or love certain thing and just go for it. What also made a lot of things possible in Beacon was our Climate Smart coordinator, Elena Peck. She became like this point of a diamond where all of that information came together, and she helped to manage communication between groups. And like sometimes when we get lazy, she'll like put us, push us a little bit to keep volunteering. So I think having a position is ideally paid so they can actually, do this as a job, and they should love that job. It's not going to be paid well, but it definitely helps to crystallize and research and find community members who will be capable of jumping on opportunities and pursuing them.
Great, thank you, Sergey. There's a couple comments and questions about waste management in the chat box. Steve from the EMC shares that one of the options from the EMC's household hazardous waste study was to have satellite events for household hazardous waste collection. And he writes, he believes that the more the county hears from you all, from the towns, the cities and villages about the importance of these, increasing the number of events, the better chance that you all might have of having additional satellite events throughout the county. And then another comment was from Ellen. She writes about the logistical challenges of composting seem to be similar. Can composting be organized on a county level? Interesting question. Any thoughts? I know we have a staff member who knows a lot about composting at the county level, who might be able to share more information. Michelle actually shared in the chat for those interested in composting and organic materials management at a municipal scale. Michelle, for Cornell Cooperative Extension, recently hosted a Zoom discussion for the Climate Smart Community Task Forces and CACs to engage with one another about these topics. There were recording of that conversation and notes will be shared shortly with the listserv. So look for it, because I would imagine that topic came up as part of that conversation. And Barbara comments, by the way, Maya has been spearheading the Pollinator Pathway Project in our town of Clinton. Excellent. She's running with it. Thank you, Maya. So a lot of interest starting to grow on pollinator pathways. So that's fantastic, and it's timely. The county recognized that it was timely because they made it part of our contract to do more education and outreach to you. So any of the CACs who are already doing work, like Susan and Maya, will be reaching out to you in the next month or two as we start gearing up to plan for our Pollinator Pathway Forum in the fall. Looking forward to learning from what CACs in the county are already working on and sharing that out to help this movement grow. Any additional questions or comments? I will say, please bring your ideas and your questions back to the listserv. That's the purpose. And the goal of the listserv is for you all to be able to interact with each other, to share these kind of conversations, to think back a couple days from now on something that a different community presented and being like, I remembered that they talked about this. Let me see if they'd be willing to share more information. It's been really exciting to see you all utilize it more over the past year, because that was always our vision, and we hope you continue to do so and continue to be a resource to each other and help guide each other through the work that you're doing. And if you aren't aware, we also have a similar listserv for the Climate Smart Community Task Forces in the county. So if your community has a task force that isn't on that listserv yet, or you're just thinking about starting a task force, get in touch with us, get in touch with Danielle specifically. She just dropped her contact information into the chat box, and she'll make sure your task force members are added to that list as well too. A lot of really great conversations and support going on in that listserv as well too, about climate smart community certification actions, and now some conversations about clean energy communities as well. Any last minute thoughts? I don't want to keep you all any longer. I really appreciate that you stayed on, that you did. Again, please feel free to take these questions to the listserv. I do want to remind you that we have an evaluation form for this evening. We'll drop the link to that evaluation form in the chat box momentarily. Please click on it, and as soon as we're wrapped up here, start filling it out. We'll also send it out to you all via follow-up email. In the next couple of days, we will send you an email with the slides that were shared tonight, so you can see the summary of all of the community's annual report forms. I know it was small in a slide, but I didn't want to leave out any of the really great information that you all included in the annual report form. And in the coming weeks, we put together a report for the county that will include an attachment of all the annual report forms. So if you find when you get the PDF of these slides that the print is just too small, don't worry, another document will be coming in the next coming weeks that will also have a more legible version of everyone's annual report form. We will, I've already shared with you a link to the draft 2021 CAC and EMC directory that's on our website, but we'll share that link to you again. Please review that. We are human, we make mistakes, we make typos. You saw a couple typos in my slides earlier tonight. So please take a look at what is in that directory for your community and make sure it's up to date. And if you did not share with us a public email address and or a public telephone number, we need that. Your communities and Dutchess County Planning uses this as a resource to reach out to you as well too. Folks need a way to at least contact one email and or one telephone number for your community, even if it's the main telephone number at the town hall, and then messages are routed to you. Please make sure to include some sort of contact information. We'll also be sending you that environmental ordinance matrix with some instructions and asking you to review it and get back to us by April 30th with any updates. And that's all we have for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You all are doing amazing work in your communities. I also want to thank you for jumping into this virtual meeting with us tonight. You know, we've had this meeting has happened for over 15 years now, if not longer. And it's been a really great experience, but it's always been done face to face. But you all stepped up and took to this new format and did really well. Hopefully next year we'll be able to see each other face to face again. But in the meantime, we really appreciate all of your willingness to report and share with each other. And we really appreciate all the amazing work that you are doing in Dutchess County. So thank you.
Next year in Millbrook.
Yeah, next year in Millbrook. Fingers crossed.
Carolyn, congratulations. Great job. Absolutely fabulous job.
Well, it's all you. It's all of the communities. It's easy to organize a meeting when you have a bunch of really fabulous presenters talking about some really fabulous work that you are all doing. So thank you. And with that, we'll let you go on your evening. Sorry for keeping you a little longer, but we really appreciate you sticking on. And we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolyn.
Have a great night, everyone.
Good job.